You can't tell everything from a skincare product's ingredients list. However, they still matter, and here's why. I always say turn and learn. That's something that I truly believe in. But I understand that recently, especially as more people are discussing this topic, this may have contributed to some confusion that wasn't intended. I've learned from my past mistakes that intention is very different than impact, and especially as these things become more discussed, I want to clear up the exact meaning of both turn and learn, and a little bit more of the ambiguity of ingredients lists to help you be an empowered consumer. Because yes, I do believe we should turn and learn. We should get familiar with some of these terms, and I personally believe that knowledge is power, which is why I want us to get curious, to question everything, and to try to learn along the way. However, can you tell what a person's body shape is solely based off of the foods that they eat? Of course not. And doing that is kind of the equivalent of judging an entire product based on one ingredient. But can we make an educated guess or a hypothesis based on the generalized foods that someone eat and their general health and well-being? Or can we take blood, give them a blood test, look at their nutrient levels, and see maybe where things are high, where things are low, and where things are in good standing to try to give them recommendations for better health, wellness, and overall well-being? Absolutely. And that's why a single food that someone eats doesn't define their health, because there are so many factors, and why a single ingredient can't be used to extrapolate the benefits or the negative impacts of an entire product. Skincare is self-care, and obviously this statement in itself also means that the experience that someone has with a product, the texture, the feel, and yes, even the scent, could be just as important for some as the impact or the effect of the treatment they're trying to use. For me, having acne, growing up as an acne sufferer, learning cosmetic chemistry, studying medicine, working in aesthetics, I tend to approach things from a more treatment basis, but we have to understand that there is a treatment and an impact, and there's also a luxury and a ritual. All of this plays into what we put into our routines. And when it comes to these formulations, yes, the ingredients are important, especially if you're trying to understand what benefit a product is going to have for your skin. But are you able to tell everything from this ingredients list or purely judge a product without having it in your hand or testing it? The answer 99 out of 100 times is no. We've even spoken on how, especially in OTC products, there's a vehicle and an active. Think of yourself as an active driving the car. You're doing the active work, but you need the vehicle or the delivery system to get you there. Similar to a product, you have an active ingredient or that active drug that's listed as drug facts on the back, and then you have the vehicle or the suspension, the rest of the product that is delivering it to the skin. But here's the other thing that can get lost, especially in conversations on the internet, when it comes to formulation. You see, formulation isn't just put things in a bottle, shake it up a lot, and put it on your face. There are multiple steps to manufacturing. We've spoken about how there are aqueous phases, there are oil phases, there are heat phases, there are temperature control, and there are so many different chemical changes that are happening to the starting ingredients that could cause them to be completely changed by the end. And that's why just because you see something put into an ingredients list doesn't mean that it's actually in that form when it comes out. We've spoken so many times about sodium hydroxide, lye. This is literally a caustic ingredient that can absolutely destroy your skin. You would never want to put that on your face. But guess what? It's essential in making soap. And when it is processed properly inside of a skincare product or inside of a bar of soap, all of those harmful things that it can do to the skin don't even exist in the final manufacturing form. Soap is amazing, it keeps us clean, and yes, it keeps us safe and healthy. Fragrance is another widely debated topic, especially here in the skincare world on YouTube, and I've done an entire video on why I don't hate it, why you shouldn't either, but why some people do, and why we need to be cognizant of the different needs of people who have different sensitivities. You also can't tell what percent of an ingredient is on the ingredients list unless it is an OTC that literally says drug facts and tells you. Again, I choose not to speak about this because I'm not completely ready to share, but I've worked on cosmetic chemistry projects since 2017, and through that I've learned a little bit about these ingredients lists, and I want you to get curious with me and learn as we go. But especially when it comes to percentages, you can't tell everything from them. And there are certain ingredients that are wonderful at a lower percentage and are dangerous at higher percentages. Think of phenoxyethanol. This is an amazing broad-spectrum preservative that stops nasty little microbes from growing inside of your products. Now, if it's used at 90%, that's horrible. It's going to be detrimental to you, especially if you ingest it. But guess what? You're not supposed to ingest it. And in cosmetic products, it has to be used at under 2%, and it's normally used at under 0.5%. Even think of lactic acid. This is an exfoliating product that we love, but we've seen it in sunscreens. Why would you want to put an exfoliator in a sunscreen? It's because when used in that formula, the way it's combined and at that percent that it is, whatever the manufacturer's trade secret has decided it to be, it's actually used to protect the formula, to be absorbed better by the skin, and to help the sunscreen work better. I think it's also important to mention that processing really matters. You can't tell whether or not this product was heated up or cooled down or how the ingredients were combined. Look at tomatoes. Tomatoes have lycopene, but when they're raw, there's not much in it. However, when we cook those tomatoes, when we heat them up at high heats, the lycopene becomes bioavailable. Our bodies can digest it and use it much more efficiently. Now, I don't know about tomatoes and lycopene in skincare. That's something that I will have to look into. However, the same premise applies, that by heating up certain ingredients, you can make them more effective or less effective. Or by cooling them down and keeping them at low temperatures, you can make them more or less bioavailable. And by the ingredients list, there is no way to tell whether or not that has happened in your products. Now, sourcing also matters, and I think you've probably noticed that some of my favorite YouTubers such as James Welsh, Leah Yu, and Susan Yara have created videos on this topic, and I think it's important for us to all have these discussions. However, this is where I'm going to kindly agree to disagree when it comes to some of the claims about sourcing. And again, don't be putting drama where there is none. Everyone likes to think that there is drama. I can't speak for other people, but I love these people dearly, and there is no drama here. Everyone who's trying to point this out, stop trying to make drama where there literally is none. We're all here to have fun, to put skincare on our faces, to enjoy the experience, and to hopefully learn and share along the way. Anyways, when it comes to sourcing, yes, sourcing does matter. There are different qualities of ingredients, just the way that you can get like a premium coffee versus, some Folgers crusty, questionable stuff that you just mix with water. However, if we're getting super technical, and again, no nuance November, we have to dig super deep and realize that once you hit a specific size on that molecular level, you can't tell the sourcing apart. Look at salicylic acid. We can derive it naturally from the bark of willow trees, but it can also be lab synthesized. If you look at just the salicylic acid molecule, you'll have no idea which source it actually came from. And honestly, it doesn't matter if it came from the willow bark or if it came from a lab. What really matters is the pH, the acidity of that product, the pKa value, whether or not it's formulated with other water or aqueous ingredients or other oil-soluble ingredients, and what temperature it was formulated at. What about citric acid? You can get it from lemons, or you can get it from fungus. But when you look at just a citric acid molecule, it's exactly the same. And even hyaluronic acid, it's extracted from a rooster's comb, and that's natural, right? That's what the marketers of these cosmetic companies at Sephora would like you to believe. But hyaluronic acid is actually made by our own bodies, and hyaluronic acid can be made in a laboratory, specifically by fermenting Staphylococcus bacteria. And again, is this fermented Staphylococcus-derived hyaluronic acid, or is this rooster comb-derived hyaluronic acid? It doesn't matter, because on the molecular level, it's exactly the same. So yes, sourcing does matter, but again, it depends on the ingredient. It depends on if you're looking at a molecular level or more of a complex or a compound, and really it depends on what else is in that formula. Again, the active and the vehicle, both of which are essential to understand in order to know how it's going to work on the skin. And that goes way beyond just what's listed on the ingredients list. In my opinion, yes, you should always be turning and learning your products, not for the sake of understanding exactly what's in there and exactly how it's going to work for you. It's supposed to make you curious. It's supposed to push you to grow more, to get more familiar with some of these terms, and to explore the wonders of skincare and cosmetic chemistry. It's to help give you a guide as to what may or may not work for you. For instance, if you see the same exact ingredient come up over and over again in every single product that makes your face red and irritated, you might have an irritation or even an allergy to that specific ingredient. And if you have acne-prone skin and your blemishes tend to clear up with every single product that says salicylic acid listed on the back at 2%, maybe this is an ingredient that you should seek out more because your skin likes it and it works for you. The truth is that there is no way to tell for sure, and unless you have worked in cosmetic chemistry, unless you have studied this stuff for years, and unless you are literally in the laboratory in which the specific product that you are using is made, it's impossible to tell exactly how ingredients are formulated, those steps of manufacturing, the sourcing, the temperature, and all of those other variables that go into creating a product that you put on your skin. But I do think it's important for us to get curious. I do think it's important for us to ask questions, and I do think it's important for us to get familiar and start to understand understand our products a little bit more, even if we will never truly understand them. It's kind of like a relationship, right? You want to get to know someone, you want to be their friend, you want to spend time with them and enjoy their presence and company, but no matter how much they tell you, you're never going to know 100% of their motives, their deepest feelings, and their secrets. And skincare products are kind of the exact same way. The real problem comes when we demonize. We cannot judge an entire product based on just one ingredient because we don't know how it plays into all the other steps and all of the other chemical combinations that are happening inside of that formula. Just the way we can't look at one person and the cupcake that they eat for dessert and try to extrapolate their entire diet or their entire body type and health history. The problem comes when we demonize and generalize. There is no such thing as a good or a bad ingredient because it all depends, and there is no such thing as even a safe or a poisonous ingredient. Poisons are literally everything. We need water to survive. Water is the universal solvent in almost every single skincare product, but water can be poisonous at a certain amount because again, a poison is made by the dose or the amount. And at the same time, I could practically drink bee venom, and as long as I don't have ulcers, I'll be totally fine because yes, that is a venom. It could be toxic. But if we're getting super particular about definitions, unless it is injected into the skin, it's really not going to impact me in the way that the bee or the snake or the spider intended. We use the term chemical very, very loosely in everyday lexicon, but when you really get super deep into it, even water is a chemical, right? An oxygen and two hydrogens held together by a nice little covalent bond. Look at air. Air is a chemical. Fruits and vegetables are all made up of chemicals. And when cosmetic companies, when influencers like myself, or when people in everyday language talk about these things, but use these conversations to demonize others or don't actually understand the fundamentals of them, that's where we run into problems and issues. Think about it. People demonize parabens, but they're naturally found in fruits. They have been proven time and time again to be safe. People demonize pesticides, but you know what caffeine is? Caffeine is a pesticide. It's my favorite one, and guess what? I drink it every frickin' morning. Proudly. There is so much nuance, and it is definitely becoming a super hyped topic right now, but that's why I think it needs to be discussed, especially because yes, I do tell you to turn and learn your ingredients. I do analyze those ingredients lists as well as test products on my hand, but I understand that intention is different than impact, and I do not want to contribute to the spread of misinformation or to the confusion, because I know some of these things can be overwhelming, especially if you, like me, have grown up with acne-prone skin and you're just trying to figure out what's going to work for you. I know that feeling. I was a consumer first, and I know it's frustrating. And that's why I treat myself as like your skincare big sister. I want to help you understand these things, but I want to do it in an ethical and responsible way. I hope you understand where I come from when I say turn and learn. I hope you also understand that I have come a long way from where I was 10 years ago. Literally believing the hype that marketers shoved down my throat, thinking that natural was better or that essential oils would cure my depression, right? I hope we continue to have these conversations and to disagree with each other so that we can learn and we can collectively grow, because that's literally the scientific method. You observe things, you come up with a hypothesis, you test it, and even if it becomes a theory, you hope someone is going to test it again, and you hope someone is going to prove you wrong. Because when they do, we all learn, and it benefits the entire greater good. So yes, turn and learn. Question everything. Stay curious, and always remember to be beautiful both inside and out. I've also created a playlist of other people who've spoken up about this topic that I need you to go watch, because again, you should never take what I say as bona fide truth or fact. You should vary your sources and your references, and you should make your own decisions based on knowledge, scientific data, and the opinions of others that really match with the morals and philosophies that you personally have. Please go show those other videos some love, educate yourself, and again, I look forward to seeing you maybe in the comments section of some of those other videos. Love you guys. Bye.